In the quiet outskirts of Abuja, where the golden sunsets painted the savannah grass in hues of amber and the distant hum of traffic blended with the calls of night birds, lived a woman named Ada. She wasn't the kind of person who sought the spotlight. Instead, she found solace in the simple rhythms of life, tending to her small vegetable garden, chatting with vendors at the local market, and sharing quiet evenings with her husband Chike. But on this particular evening, as the sky darkened and the first stars began to twinkle like forgotten promises, Ada stood frozen behind the thin curtain of her living room window, her heart shattering into 1,000 pieces. She had just returned from a long day at her job as a school teacher, her arms laden with lesson plans and unmarked papers. The neighbors, gathered in the compound's shared courtyard under the flickering light of a single bulb, didn't know she was listening. Or perhaps they did, and that made it worse. Ah, that Ada, one woman said, her voice dripping with false pity. Still no children after all these years. What a waste of a good husband. Chick must be regretting it now. Laughter erupted, sharp and cruel, like knives slicing through the warm air. Maybe she's cursed, another chimed in, or barren like dry soil in the Harmattan season. Poor thing, always smiling, but we know the truth. Ada's hands trembled as she clutched the edge of the sink, tears streaming down her face. How many times had she heard these whispers? How many family gatherings had ended with sidelong glances and hushed advice about fertility clinics or traditional healers? She and Chick had been married for 8 years, their love as steady as the Niger River, but the absence of children had turned their home into a battlefield of unspoken sorrows. That night, as the insults echoed in her mind, Ada whispered a prayer to the heavens, begging for a sign, for anything to silence the voices that haunted her. Little did she know, the stars above were listening, and fate was about to weave a tale that would echo through the ages. Ada woke the next morning with the weight of those words still pressing on her chest like an invisible stone. Abuja's morning light filtered through the lace curtains of their modest two-bedroom apartment, casting patterns on the worn-tiled floor. Chike, ever the optimist, was already up, brewing tea in the kitchen. He was a civil engineer, tall and broad-shouldered, with a smile that could light up the darkest room. Good morning, my love, he said, handing her a steaming cup. But Ada could see the concern in his eyes, the same concern that had grown over the years, mirroring her own silent despair. Their life together had started so promisingly. They met at university in Nsuka, where Ada's sharp mind for literature and Chick's passion for building bridges, both literal and metaphorical, had drawn them together. They married young, full of dreams, a house filled with laughter, children running through the halls, family trips to the beach in Calabar. But month after month, year after year, those dreams remained unfulfilled. Doctors in Abuja's best hospitals had run tests, prescribed medications, suggested procedures. Unexplained infertility, they called it, as if labeling the pain made it easier to bear. At work that day, Ada tried to focus on her students, bright-eyed kids from the nearby estates, eager to learn about Nigerian folklore and world history. But during break time, even her colleagues couldn't resist the subtle jabs. Ada, when are you going to join the Mothers Club? One teacher asked with a wink, while others nodded knowingly. Ada forced a laugh, but inside it felt like her soul was crumbling. That evening at a family dinner hosted by Chike's sister, Ngozi, the insults grew bolder. Ngozi, blessed with three rambunctious boys, pulled Ada aside. Sister, you need to try harder. Maybe try. See a babalawo. People are talking, saying Chike should take a second wife. The words stung like salt in an open wound, and Ada excused herself to the bathroom, where she sobbed quietly, wondering if heaven had forgotten her entirely. As days turned into weeks, the taunts became a constant companion. Neighbors gossiped over fences, relatives sent helpful articles about adoption, and even strangers at the market eyed her with pity. Ada's garden, once her refuge, now felt barren, mirroring her womb. She planted tomatoes and ugu leaves with renewed vigor, as if nurturing life in the soil could somehow transfer to her body. Chike held her through the nights, whispering assurances, but the seed of doubt had been planted deep. In the quiet moments, Ada gazed at the sky, pleading for mercy, unaware that a storm of change was brewing on the horizon. Flashbacks haunted Ada's dreams, pulling her back to her childhood in a small village near Enugu, where folklore was as real as the red earth underfoot. Her grandmother, Mama Ifeoma, had been a storyteller, weaving tales of gods and spirits around the evening fire. The heavens speak when the heart is pure, Mama would say, her voice crackling like dry leaves. But you must listen, child. Ada had laughed then, dismissing it as old wives' tales. Now, in the modern sprawl of Abuja, with its high rises and traffic jams, those words echoed louder than ever. One particularly grueling day, Ada visited a fertility specialist recommended by a friend. The clinic was sterile and cold, filled with couples like her, hopeful yet weary. The doctor, a kind man named Dr. Obi, reviewed her charts. Ada, there's no medical reason we can find. Sometimes it's just fate. Fate. The word tasted bitter. On her way home, she stopped at a roadside chapel, a small tin roofed building where locals gathered for prayer. Kneeling before the altar, she poured out her soul. God, if you're God, if there, why this silence? Why the mockery? Speak to me, please. That night, a vivid dream visited her. She stood in a vast field under a starlit sky, and a voice like thunder rolled from the clouds. Patience, daughter. The barren tree will bear fruit when the time is right. She woke with a start, heart pounding, but dismissed it as wishful thinking. Yet the dream lingered, fueling a quiet resolve. Meanwhile, the insults persisted. At a community meeting, an elder woman pointedly said, "A woman without children is like a river without water, useless." Chike defended her fiercely, but the damage was done. Ada's emotional armor cracked further, tears becoming her nightly ritual. Entertainment came in small doses, watching Nollywood films with Chike, laughing at exaggerated dramas that paled in comparison to her own. But deep down, the pain festered, building toward a climax only the heavens could orchestrate. As months dragged on, Ada's routine became a shield against the barbs. She threw herself into teaching, organizing school plays that brought joy to her students and momentary distraction to herself. One afternoon, during a rehearsal of a folk tale about Anansi the spider, a child asked, "Miss Ada, why don't you have kids? You'd be the best mom." The innocence of the question pierced her, but she smiled through it. That evening, sharing the story with Chike, they both laughed. A rare, genuine moment amid the sorrow. But the turning point began subtly. Ada started volunteering at an orphanage in Garki, holding babies and reading stories to toddlers. It was bittersweet, filling a void while reminding her of what she lacked. The director, a warm woman named Ezine, noticed her dedication. "You're a natural, Ada. Heaven has plans for you." Those words echoed her grandmother's tales, stirring something deep within. If you're moved by Ada's journey so far and want more inspiring stories like this, please subscribe to the channel. Right now, hit that button, turn on notifications, and drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from: Lagos, New York, London, or somewhere else. Your support keeps these tales alive. Back home, Chick surprised her with a weekend getaway to a resort in the hills outside Abuja. They hiked trails lined with acacia trees, shared picnics under the sun, and for the first time in years, talked openly about adoption. "We don't need blood to make a family," Chike said, his eyes shining. Ada nodded, feeling a spark of hope, but the neighbors' gossip followed them even there, via phone calls from relatives. "When will you give up?" one aunt texted. The drama intensified when Ngozi confronted them upon return. "Chike, think of your legacy." The argument escalated into a family feud, tears flowing freely. Yet, in the midst of the chaos, Ida felt a strange peace, as if the heavens were aligning the stars for her revelation. Tension built like clouds before a rainstorm. Ada's days blurred into a cycle of work, prayer, and quiet defiance. She began documenting her thoughts in a journal, turning pain into poetry, verses about barren lands blooming unexpectedly. Friends noticed the change. Some supported, others distanced themselves, whispering that she was losing it. At a market in Woos, a vendor she knew well pulled her aside. Ada ignored them. My sister was like you for 10 years. Then boom, twins. The story entertained her, a glimmer of realism in her folktale like life. Chike's work took him to sites across the city, building roads that connected communities. He confided in Ada about his own struggles. I feel the pressure too, but our love is enough. Their intimacy deepened, conversations turning emotional under the Abuja night sky. One night, during a power outage, they sat on the balcony with candles flickering, sharing childhood memories. Ada's tales of village spirits made Chike laugh, lightening the mood. But the insults peaked at her cousin's wedding. Surrounded by fertile relatives, Ada endured toasts to fruitful unions that felt like personal attacks. A drunk uncle slurred, Ada, when's your turn? Or are you just decoration? Humiliated, she fled to the garden, where she collapsed in tears. Chike found her, holding her close as thunder rumbled overhead. This ends now, he vowed. That night the dream returned, stronger. The voice from heaven whispered, the time draws near. Prepare your heart. Ada woke sweating, wondering if madness or miracle awaited. Ada's resolve hardened. She sought therapy, joining a support group for childless couples in Abuja. There, she met women like herself, strong, broken, rebuilding. Stories of loss and hope flowed, making her feel less alone. One woman, Funmi, shared how adoption transformed her life. Inspired, Ada and Chike began the process, attending seminars and home visits. The bureaucracy was daunting, but it gave purpose. Meanwhile, family drama escalated. Ngozi organized an intervention, inviting elders who lectured on duty to ancestors. Childlessness is a curse, one declared. Ada stood her ground. My worth isn't in my womb. The room fell silent, then exploded in arguments. Chike backed her, straining family ties. Entertainment came from unexpected sources. Ada started a blog, Barren No More, Stories of Resilience, anonymizing her experiences. It gained traction, readers sharing their tales. Comments poured in, you're inspiring. It was therapeutic, turning pain into power. Yet doubts crept in. Medical tests again yielded nothing. A traditional healer suggested rituals. Ada tried one, dancing under the moon with herbs, feeling foolish but desperate. The night ended in laughter with Chike, who joked, if this works, we'll name the kid Moonbeam. Their bond strengthened, but the emotional toll mounted. In quiet moments, Ada prayed fervently, the heaven's silence deafening until a faint sign appeared, a positive pregnancy test after years of negatives. Was it real or another cruel trick? Joy exploded like fireworks. Ada stared at the test, hands shaking. Chick whooped, lifting her in a spin. They celebrated with dinner at a cozy spot in Maitama, toasting to new beginnings. Word spread cautiously. Family reacted with mixed emotions. Ngozi apologized tearfully. I was wrong, sister. Neighbors whispered apologies, the insults fading, but fate twisted. Weeks later, at a checkup, Dr. Obi frowned. It's a false positive, hormonal imbalance. The world crashed. Ada wept for days, Chike consoling her through his own grief. The support group helped, but the pain was raw. Blog readers sent encouragement, entertaining her with their own comeback stories. In the aftermath, Ada channeled energy into community work, organizing events for orphaned children. One day, playing with a little girl named Amara, she felt a maternal pull. Maybe this is heaven's plan, she told Chike. They accelerated adoption, selecting Amara. The process was emotional, paperwork endless, but hope reignited. Drama flared when relatives opposed. Adopt, but it's not your blood. Arguments ensued, but Ada remained firm. That night, the dream voice returned. True family is forged in love, not blood. Waking inspired, she pushed forward, the heavens whisper guiding her. Amara arrived like a burst of sunshine. The 3-year-old, with curly hair and infectious giggles, filled their home with life. Ada quit teaching temporarily to bond, teaching Amara songs from her village. Chike built a play area in the garden, his engineering skills shining. Family slowly warmed. Ngozi brought gifts, playing auntie. Neighbors, once mocking, now admired. See how heaven blessed her. The change was dramatic. Insults turned to praise. But challenges arose. Amara had nightmares from her past requiring patience. Ada navigated motherhood's realities, sleepless nights, tantrums, joys. Entertaining moments abounded. Amara's first words in their home, Mama Ada, tears flowed. The blog evolved into unexpected blessings, sharing adoption tales. Readers engaged, making it a community. One evening, during a family barbecue, an elder admitted, "We were wrong. Heaven spoke through this child." Ada smiled, feeling vindicated. Yet a deeper miracle brewed. Ada felt nauseous, a familiar sign. Could it be? Confirmation came, pregnant. This time real. Joy doubled with Amara. Chike danced around the apartment, calling everyone. Family rejoiced. Ngozi hosted a party, toasts emotional. Pregnancy was tough, morning sickness, fatigue, but Ada glowed. She balanced mothering Amara and preparing for the new baby. Stories from her blog inspired others. One reader adopted after reading it. Drama hit when a biological relative contested Amara's adoption. Court battles ensued, tense and emotional. Chiki hired a lawyer, fighting fiercely. In court, Ada testified, "Love makes family." They won, bonds strengthened. As her belly grew, neighbors shared folklore. Heaven rewards the patient. Ada laughed, entertaining Amara with tales. The dream voice visited once more. Your fruit multiplies. Waking, she knew peace. Labor came suddenly, dramatic as a Nollywood scene. Chike rushed her to the hospital amid Abuja traffic. Hours of pain, then cries. Twin boys. Ifeni and Kelechi, healthy and loud. News spread like wildfire. Family flooded the ward. Tears and laughter mixing. Ngozi held the babies. Heaven spoke indeed. Neighbors visited, bearing gifts, apologies implicit. Home with 3 children, life was chaotic yet fulfilling. Ida returned to teaching part-time. Chiki adjusted work. Amara doted on her brothers, a big sister at heart. The blog exploded. Media interviewed her. From insult to miracle, headlines read. Entertaining anecdotes filled. Her post, Twins Mischief, Amara's jealousy turned love. Relatives who insulted now sought advice. Ada forgave, her story a beacon. Years passed, the children grew. Amara, now 7, excelled in school. The twins, energetic toddlers, kept everyone on toes. Ada's garden bloomed vibrantly, symbolizing her life. She wrote a book, Heaven's Voice, a journey from barren to blessed. It became a bestseller in Nigeria, inspiring workshops. Emotional testimonies poured in, women sharing transformations. Drama lingered in small ways, jealous acquaintances, but Ada rose above. Chike's career soared. They moved to a larger home in Asokoro. Evenings, Ada told folk tales to her kids, weaving her story in. "Listen to heaven," she'd say. Entertaining family game nights brought laughter. Community honored her, an award for advocacy. In acceptance, she said, insults silenced when heaven spoke. As children matured, Ada's influence spread. Amara pursued art inspired by folklore. The twins showed engineering flair like Chike. Family reconciled fully. Ngozi became close confidant. Neighbors formed support groups, Ada's model. Her blog turned podcast, entertaining global audiences with dramatic retellings. Emotional episodes featured guest stories. One day revisiting the chapel, Ada thanked heaven. The voice in her heart, your tale changes everything. Life's realism, ups, downs, but love prevailed. In twilight years, Ada reflected on her epic. Grandchildren played in the garden, laughter echoing. Cheek by her side, they watched sunsets. Her story, a modern folktale, passed down, insulted for childlessness, until heaven spoke, birthing miracles, adoption, twins, inspiration, dramatic twists, emotional depths, entertaining turns, realistic struggles, all culminated in triumph. Heaven's voice changed everything, proving patience and love conquer all. And so, in Abuja's serene embrace, Ida's legacy lived on, a testament to the power of faith and resilience.